Okay. Uh, in Hospital Gate, especially this Hospital Gate episode with me without Lukey, I expose things. Lukey doesn't always like me to expose things because he's afraid of the Hillary Hit Squad and the people that would try to take our channels down. But I'm being more careful about how I expose things, and I'm on my own channel. I like to actually bring it out there, the truth about something that people don't know about. Okay, they're talking about the divorce between Michelle Obama and Barack Obama. Well, there's more to it than just they're getting a divorce, all right? They're trying to avoid the issue that's been coming so long that's getting out there. And they figure by having her out of the picture, they can avoid this. The issue of her being a man. Now, I exposed Barack Obama and I exposed Michael Obama, that's his real name, on my show. It was my show that I was doing from South there, so it was a comedy show. And they were trying to play this down as a movie, and it really a lot of stuff that happened on the show was really happening, such as the human trafficking in Nassau County Medical Center, all this stuff. I have videos of Michael Obama without his makeup sitting next to Barack Obama as a man. Now, you might wonder, without his makeup, he's not a transgender like people thought. Some people thought. Not a transgender, not even a transgender. He's a cross-dresser. He is a transvestite. A man that likes to dress up like a woman. And I had videos of him sitting next to Barack on a couch as Michael Obama, the man. I have videos of this, and I also have videos of him saying during my show, "Oh, that Sir Deacon Richard Stephen Doyle, he's a funny guy." And I turned around and I said, "No, Michael, I am not a funny guy. You, Michael, are a funny guy. I am not a funny guy. Let's get that straight." So, Michael Obama is actually a man. He's not a transgender. He's a transvestite, a cross-dresser. Now, the problem with all this information is the HIPAA law. This stuff all happened in a hospital. Now, although the show was very popular and it did get out to some circles, they were still able to stop the show and stop the episodes from getting out and having it covered up by the HIPAA law. The HIPAA law means that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. In this case, what happens in the healthcare system, the mental health system, stays in the healthcare system, stays in the mental health system. The HIPAA law, if you remember that episode of Hospital Gate with Lukey and I, we actually showed a video where, and I think they took the video down, but we showed a video of Barack Obama, no, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton admitting that the HIPAA law was made to cover up for criminals' crimes. And this was on the internet. It's admitting this on the internet. And all of a sudden, they took this off the internet. And we had that video out, and all of a sudden, the video was taken down. Now, Lukey doesn't remember one day from the next, so if you ask him about this video that we did, he'll probably won't remember it. But I remember it clearly. Okay, and people did see that episode of Hospital Gate. It was an old episode, so a lot of people watching might not have seen it. But we actually exposed Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton admitting that the HIPAA law was created to cover up for crimes that criminals commit. So that's the HIPAA law that's what it was made for. And when I was in South Nassau, they pulled that up too. And then it's just vanished off the internet. And I believe the episode that Lukey and I did years ago when we exposed that, I believe that video was taken down by Bill Gates. But I was in South Nassau, and I was doing a show that was a very popular show. People were watching it. And I exposed Michael Obama and Barack Obama together as gay men. When they found out the show was aired from a hospital, the HIPAA law sealed everything. And although people watched the show, not enough people for it to be remembered. So a lot of this stuff was exposed. I actually got around the HIPAA law, and a lot of this stuff was exposed on this TV show. But then they found out it was coming from a hospital, and the HIPAA law squashed everything. The HIPAA law means what happens in the mental health system stays in the mental health system, which means it's not to protect patient confidentiality. It's to cover up for criminals' crimes. Now, we have this stuff is video. We have this stuff on video and everything, and it can't be. You could destroy the videos and you could delete the videos, which I tried to do, but then we just retrieve them. The only problem is the HIPAA law. Because of the HIPAA law, they're able to block all these videos and put a government block on all these videos. And even if there's a case coming on, against the mental health system, where people want to sue, they can't release the videos because their HIPAA law hides them. And the HIPAA law is like an unwritten rule. It's a loophole in the law that stops criminals from being exposed. And they say it's for patient confidentiality. I even tried to express that maybe we should replace the HIPAA law with something I call the partial non-disclosure law, where they would still protect patient confidentiality and let crimes get out there. And they wouldn't do it. That's what HIPAA law is for. Now we're gonna vote, write your congressman and everything, because you want this information out there. The only way you can get it out there is to write your congressman and write your attorney general, all those people, and email them, tell them you don't want the HIPAA law anymore. It doesn't help. It ruins things. It makes things worse. The HIPAA law is, there's so many things that happen in the hospital. I have videotapes. Okay, patients commit crimes too. And if patients commit crimes, they no longer have the right to their privacy if they commit crimes, right? If their patients are criminals, they're committing crimes in the mental health system. Why do they have the right to their privacy? And why should people that work there have the right to privacy when they're committing crimes? So I don't care if it's a patient or a staff or a doctor. If they're committing a crime, they don't have a right to privacy. And it's a loophole in the law. It's a loophole in the law. They say it's confidentiality, patient confidentiality, and they use it to hide crimes. That patients were going in and out of an ATM machine, stealing money from my bank, hundreds of millions of dollars, smuggling cigarettes, giving the profits back to a Patrick Devlin. And Patrick Devlin was also making deals and buying houses and putting people in housing cars with my name without telling me where they were. And it was all sealed by the HIPAA law. I can't sue these people. They stole billions from me, and they're still stealing from my bank. And I don't know where the banks are because everything's covered up by the HIPAA law. They're also committing all these crimes. They're trafficking children. They're trafficking young girls for sex. making men fight in cages, NASCAR medical center, all this stuff. Even Tupac Shakur is still alive. Still alive. And posing as an orderly in Nassau County Medical Center. I believe he's using the name Marcel. That's the name he's using, Marcel. So you see a guy that looks like Tupac Shakur, it's too close for comfort, and his name is Marcel in Nassau County Medical Center. That's Tupac Shakur. And Tupac Shakur is also getting involved in the child trafficking. He's trafficking young girls and for sex and all that. And Tupac Shakur is alive and well and doing that. And yes, in South Nassau, I did expose Barack Obama with his boyfriend, Michael Obama, who he's married to, who they all think is a woman named Michelle, who poses as a first lady. And they said he was a transgender. He's not even a transgender. He's a transvestite. I got the videos to prove it, but the HIPAA law is preventing it from getting out there. I urge everyone to write their congressman about this. To write their congressman about the HIPAA law. About the HIPAA law being overturned. Now, Donald John Trump. Now, I used to be a friend of his. And I'm not anymore. Okay, Donald John Trump, okay, although he was innocent of the crimes he was charged with, he's not innocent. There were crimes that he committed that he wasn't charged with. Why? Because they know if they charge him with the crimes he was guilty of, they would convict him. And they knew the bullshit crimes, the crimes that didn't really happen, they couldn't convict him. Now, I'll tell you something. The thing he's guilty of is that a Dr. Robin M. Barris, okay, who was involved in the trafficking and did attempted murder. He attempted murder on me with an injection. Him and two other doctors, but he actually they assaulted me. Him and another doctor. One doctor assaulted me, and the other two, which one was Dr. Robin M. Barris and was another doctor, actually tried to murder me with injections. And they stuck it, he's not going to be able to walk, okay? Someone said, okay, and they injected me, and I charged him with assaulting and attempted murder on a police officer of the law. Now, Donald John Trump, okay, had something where I said that he was innocent because they were guilty of obstruction of justice. I was talking about another case. This guy was arrested once before. So when they investigated it, they thought they heard me saying that, but that's not what it was said. He was on charges once before, and I believed he was innocent of those charges, so I said that. But what really happened was he injected me and he tried to kill me. And I had him charged with, on the charges I had him on, for attempted murder on a police officer of the law. Now, the president knew, and he was the president at the time, he knew that, and he's now president again, he knew that this man was involved with child trafficking. He knew that what he did to me. And we had him on under wraps because he was supposed to testify against Andrew M. Cuomo and the other child traffickers. And I thought that was fine. If we could get him to testify, we could blow the whole thing wide open, we'll let the guy go. This guy decided he didn't want to testify. This doctor decided he didn't want to testify, and he wanted to do things his way. And Donald Trump, who has a thing about Jewish people, he has a thing about Jewish people and people from Orthodox Jews and who had connections to Israel. So he decided that because this guy was an Orthodox Jew and he had connections to Israel, that gave him a pass to traffic children. Not only that, it gave him a pass that he was supposed to testify against the other bad guys to get off, that he didn't have to do that either. And also, he decided that he was going to work with the guy to cover everything up. This is Donald Trump. He was guilty of this. You talk about obstruction of justice, this was obstruction of justice. Now, later on when this doctor, okay, after he assaulted me, pleaded insanity to get out of prison. And then when the whole thing was over and Donald Trump let him go and everything, he decided, well, the investigator had me diagnosed with insanity. I'm going to say something about him. He's schizophrenic. And wait a minute. I said, wait a minute. You're going to diagnose me when you're not even qualified anymore. You were declared insane. So he ended up transferring me to Pilgrim. And I decided to work with Donald Trump again because I figured maybe he'd change his ways. So Donald John Trump actually endorsed me for governor. I gave him an endorsement for president again, and he endorsed me for governor. And then later on, something happened, and he decided, well, there was a Jewish organization called Long Island Jewish. They're involved with this and everything. They're Jews. I'm going to screw him totally. He was supposed to get me a lawyer, a judge, to pay off a judge so that I would get out of that place on no medication. I get all my money back and the case would be on. He turns around, takes my endorsement away for governor, sends me to the judge that he was initially supposed to get me out of there without medicine and my money back and everything that he's supposed to have paid. And he paid off, and it was only paid off because I was a real cop, so I wasn't supposed to be in there. So he took the money back from the judge, told the judge to hang me. So this Dr. Kokar, who knew that these things he was saying was untrue. He knew I had a daughter named Jessie. He lied and said he doesn't have a daughter. Okay, his mother says he doesn't have a daughter. Well, my mother lied about that. But he knew my mother was lying because he knew I had a daughter because he was giving her shock treatments. Him and another doctor named Dr. Hashmir were giving my daughter shock treatments, telling her that her father was a bad man, she had to forget him. So he didn't know for sure that I had a daughter, and he lied about it. How did he know to say to her that we got to give you shock treatments to forget your father, he's a bad man? So I spun circles around this doctor in court. He said, yeah, and he says he has a brother. He says he has a half brother named Cannon Doyle. And everybody in the hospital knew I had a brother named Cannon Doyle. My mother said I didn't, but they all knew I had it. And he said, well, his mother said it wasn't true. I said, but doctor, you know it's true because everybody in the hospital knew I had a brother that his real name was Chris Jeffers, and he changed his name to Cannon Doyle, and he took my ID and got knighted by the Queen and stole what belonged to me. And he's lying his ass over, I don't know. And the judge who was told by Donald Trump to hang me, he said, took the doctor's side. Now the thing is that in court, in the mental health hygiene court, and I read the mental hygiene law, in the mental hygiene court, it states that of course, if you're right, the guy was lying, but regardless of anything, no matter what is said in court, once you're deemed competent to be a lawyer in court for yourself, which I was, all right, by my lawyer, who wasn't my lawyer, I was representing myself. Once you're deemed competent to represent yourself in court, they can't lock you up in a hospital, they can't put you on drugs, they can't do nothing no matter what happens in the courtroom. You can be delusional, but you still won. And I wasn't. Okay, so they ruled against me when I was my own lawyer. They're not allowed to do that. If they could do it in a criminal case, and they could do it only in criminal, and that's not for psych charges. When the guy Bernard Getz went to court and he became his own lawyer, he did it to escape the mental health system. He did it to escape the mental health system so that he wouldn't go to a psych prison. And he did it. And he was a terrible lawyer, but he knew what he was doing because he didn't have to be a good lawyer. He just had to prove he was capable of defending himself. And then they sent him to jail. Now, with me, I wasn't even on a criminal court case. I was always about getting out of the hospital and not getting on medicine. So they weren't even allowed to send me to jail. They weren't allowed to do anything. I was deemed competent to defend myself in court. It didn't matter what happened in the courtroom. I won. Now, the judges, everything is so corrupt. And, oh yeah, again, the HIPAA law. The HIPAA law. They were able to send me back to the mental health system, the hospital, on heavy medications, okay, and do everything because the HIPAA law made the hearing a mock hearing. If it got out there that they went against me after I was declared competent to defend myself in court, they would have been in a lot of trouble. But they hid the records. And even they had films, tapes of it and everything. But they hid it. And not only that, but the doctor was committing perjury all over the place. If you look back at things in the hospital, you would find out he was. But they hid that too. So then they had me on all these drugs, and they ended up discharging me on all these drugs without my money, nothing. The HIPAA law doesn't work. The HIPAA law doesn't work. Because even if a patient wants to defend himself in court, which gives him an automatic get out of the hospital free card, they can't because the footage doesn't get out there. Now, Donald Trump knew what he was doing. He knew about the HIPAA law. He knew about the crooked judges. Told him to hang me. Decided he didn't want to dust me for governor. Took that away. Decided he wanted to take my money away. Decided everything. He decided that he wanted criminals to go free. Which started in Near Medical Center with this doctor and ended up in Pilgrim when he endorsed me for governor, and then took all that back and told me nothing. Now, if I was put in court, and I'm not a mental health court, but a criminal court, and I was asked about this, I would swear under penalty of perjury that I was telling the truth. And I would say this too. I would say I could go for 15 years in prison for each lie I tell. But I'm so sure that I'm telling the truth that I'm willing to take that risk. And then I would say that I'm not incompetent either because I was declared competent in the Mineola courtroom in the mid-2000s. And after I said all that, they would investigate whether I was telling the truth. They would find that I was telling the truth. All these people. I have videos of people admitting things, confessing things. I have videos of, again, patients going in and out of an ATM machine, stealing money out of a bank, which came to, and I'm going to tell you how much money I have. I don't like telling people that because I don't want to be wanted for my money. But I have a nest egg. I have enough to live comfortable. Well, I could have a lot. But I have enough. And they stole the money out and they laundered it. They bought cigarettes. They smuggled cigarettes. This guy Patrick Devlin and Jim Steiger stole money from my bank, and they bought houses and cars, put people in my name, and didn't tell me what they were. And there's so much more that happened in there. If this stuff ever got out, these people would hang. But because of the, illegal abortions. Illegal abortions. Now, I actually have videos of illegal abortions being done. And because they have tapes in all the rooms. So if they went in a private room, that was also on camera. And if they actually saw these abortions, they would not only say that illegal abortion should be done, but they would see it done on TV, and they would say, you know what? Roe versus Wade, all that stuff, there'd be a federal ban on abortion. And women would be locked up for first-degree murder for committing abortion if they actually saw these abortions being done. Because they actually show what a fetus looks like and what they do to it. And if this stuff got out there, and these videos, these illegal abortions got out there, it would prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that abortion is homicide. Because they would see the abortion being done. It would prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that abortion is homicide. There's more stuff they don't want out there. I have stuff on Barack Obama. I have stuff on Hillary Clinton. Oh yeah, they staged Osama bin Laden's death. I told you I had another video. They staged Osama bin Laden's death. Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. I was, not the time I was Donald Trump, but there was another time I was investigating the wars. The Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, who was doing the right thing at the time for a while, was saying that the investigator has right on the money about everything, but if he's overwhelming my office with information, we can't catch up with our work, and if he doesn't stop, we're going to turn on him. So I kept giving him information. Then they came out with that story about Osama bin Laden being killed by the Navy SEALs. Now, Barack Obama wasn't going to get elected that year. He was so unpopular. But that story, which was so bogus, everybody believed it, and he became a hero and got elected, and the story wasn't even true. The death of Osama bin Laden, which I said in other videos, was staged in a computer room called the Skills One computer room. And it was staged in a rehab building, building 102, in 998 Crooked Hill Road. I was standing right at the room when they staged the death. Now, they did this partially because I was overwhelming Eric Schneiderman's office with information. And another thing, they wanted Barack Obama to get away with this because they were all in trouble. So Barack Obama looked like a hero, and he got elected again because of this fake story, which changed every time they got on the news. If you notice, the Navy SEALs who lied their asses off. That's why I don't respect the military anymore. They lied their asses off, and every time they got on the news to talk about it, they told a different story about who killed him, where he was killed, how he was killed. Every time they got on the news, they changed their story. In a police office, in a police department, if somebody came in there with a story like that, and they kept on changing their story, the police would say, this guy's a head case, and they would send him somewhere, and that would be it. Barack Obama and the Navy SEALs, they're not really liars, they're not even good liars. And Americans, okay, I hate to say it, but not you guys are all listening to me, so you're pretty smart, but most Americans are not that bright. If you give most Americans an IQ test, years ago, the average IQ was 100, and 80 points was below retarded. I would say the average American, if they got an IQ test, they would score 80. Because they're that stupid. You believe a story that keeps on changing, that they can't get it straight. They can't get their story straight. And every time they get on TV, they change it, and you believe that nonsense? You're a moron. You believe it, a story that keeps on changing, and that they can't get their story straight. You're an idiot. They're idiots for telling it to you, and you're an idiot for believing it. What else? And now again about abortion be homicide. That's another reason why I say Americans are stupid. How could you say we were all fetuses? They say a fetus is not a human being. Well, if we were all fetuses, and then the fetus was killed, then the fetus is a stage of life. So if we were all once fetuses, and then we became human beings, and then we were killed as fetuses, and we weren't here, that means we'd be dead. We'd be murdered, which means it's a life. It's common sense. If it's a fetus, or even if it's a fetus about to, it's still a life. It's a stage of life, which means it's definitely going to be a human being. And if you stop it from being a human being, you're killing it. Which means you're committing first-degree murder. Why first-degree murder and not just murder? Because the child is innocent. First-degree murder is when you kill an innocent life. What's more innocent than a child or a fetus? A fetus is the equivalent of a newborn baby. So, to kill a newborn baby is worse than killing a child on the street, right? Well, if killing a fetus is the equivalent of killing a newborn baby, then it's worse than killing a child on the street. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out. People cloud their judgment. The media lies so much they cloud people's judgments. Our American people have been stupefied by the media. American people have been turned retarded from average and above average intelligence to retarded people by the media. Chicken Little. If Chicken Little told you that the sky was falling, would you come running? If Barack Obama got on TV and told you that he was selling the Brooklyn Bridge, would you buy it? Well, when he told you that that the Navy SEALs killed Osama bin Laden and that the bogus story and they kept on changing, he was actually telling you that he was selling you the Brooklyn Bridge. Barack Obama was selling you the Brooklyn Bridge when he came out with that story. And a lot of you believed it. A lot of you believed it. Barack Obama and Eric Schneider was telling everybody that he wanted to sell the Brooklyn Bridge, and almost everybody bought it. When the Democrats came up with this thing with pro-choice and saying it's not murder, they were selling people the Brooklyn Bridge, and people bought it. Something about the media could cloud most people's judgment, turn people into vegetables. The media can turn people into vegetables, to retarded people, which is what a vegetable is. It can turn the average intelligence and above into a vegetable if they watch it too much. That's why I don't watch media. And when I watch the internet, I'm careful to what I watch. I mean, Americans have been stupefied by the media. The media is telling people this nonsense so they believe it because they saw it on TV. And even if you look at the internet, people watch the wrong things on the internet and believe the wrong thing. So when you go on the internet, you gotta be careful what you're watching, because the internet can be bullshit too. Just not as bad as the media, the mass media. Social media can be bullshit. Excuse the language. But the mass media is total bull. But if you're not careful what you watch on social media, it can be bull too. Now, Donald John Trump was not guilty of any of the charges that they charged him with. they didn't charge him with the right crimes. Because the things I just accused him of, he's guilty of. If they charged him with that and dug up this information, he'd be gone. They purposely charged him with the wrong crimes, knowing he'd get off. And the people would watch it and think, oh, this guy's innocent. They didn't charge him with the right crimes. A lot of bogus people didn't know what they were saying, said some bogus things about Donald Trump, and they charged him and they got off. But if they had a guy like me or anybody like me that had real crimes against him, he would not have gotten off. He would have been charged and convicted. He didn't get convicted because they charged him with the wrong crimes. The crimes I got him on will stick. And if they don't stick right away, eventually they will. Because you got even people like O.J. Simpson, who made a mockery of justice, and he got off and you know he was guilty. Eventually they got him. So even if I charged him and it didn't stick right away, eventually they would get him. Because there'd be enough people like me that would be annoyed if he got off and they would go after him. But the thing is that they didn't do that because the people that didn't charge him with were so bogus, and people saw it was bogus, and they didn't know about what he really did. They only knew that he was innocent of the crimes they charged him with. So that's why he got off, because they didn't charge him with the right crimes. And even if he did get off on the crimes I got him on because of some mockery of justice, they would eventually get him, because there'd be a lot of people that would say, no, this guy's guilty, and they would get him. But because they charged him with crimes that were bogus, he made everybody think, oh, this guy's being persecuted. Which in essence he was, only because the crimes that they charged him with he didn't do. And if he was charged with the crimes he did commit, it wouldn't have been bogus, and people would want him convicted. And even if he didn't get convicted, he would eventually get it. They play on people's emotions. They when they charge him with things he was innocent of, they go, oh, this guy's innocent. And he looked like he was innocent because he was innocent of the crimes they charged him with. If I charged him, he wouldn't be innocent. And even if he got away with it, they would still get him, because there'd be a lot of people that would be outraged if he did get away with it. But there was nobody getting outraged at him getting away because he got away with things he didn't do. So it made him look like he was a nice person, which he wasn't. Barack Obama, however, horrible person. Okay, let me tell you something about Hillary Clinton. Donald John Trump is a lousy person. He's a criminal, but it's one thing I got to give him. He's a great president. Yeah, he's a big-time criminal. I told you what he did. He's a piece of garbage, but he knows how to run this country. And he knows how to run this country, and he's running it perfectly well to stay out of prison. Because he knows people like me have real charges on him. So he feels if he could do a good enough job running the country, he can stay out of prison. He not only wants to be president to stay out of prison, he wants to be the best president. And he's doing it. The guy knows how to run the country. Immigration, everything. But he's still a criminal, and he's still a piece of garbage. And if it were me, I would say, look, let him run the country, let him do a great job. When he comes out of office, get him for the crimes that he committed. Let's get real already. Let him run the country, let him do his job like he said. When he comes out, don't start charging him with bogus crimes. Get him on the crimes he really did, like I said he did. And then get him. Take what they give you as long as it's free. But don't surrender. Don't let them get away with it. What he's given you is a good country to run. It's free. He's doing a great job running the country. It's free. Let's take it as long as it's free. And then when he's done with his job, let's prosecute him for the crimes he committed. The real crimes. That's what they did with Nixon. Nixon was a great president. And he wasn't even a big criminal. He just bugged the White House. And they wanted to get him for that. But the one thing I respect about that trial, they impeached him remotely. They waited until he did what he had to do for the country. And then they trialed him for Watergate. And the bad thing about it is they forced him to resign, but they didn't lock him up. But that's okay too, because what he did wasn't that bad. Donald Trump is like a Nixon, but he's worse. Nixon actually didn't do anything that bad. What I just mentioned that Donald Trump did is horrible. They got to let him do his job, and then they got to take him out and lock him up. That's all he's doing. Yes, we need him as a president, but once he's out of office and once he does his job, he's got to face the music of what he did. He thinks he's got immunity and that whatever he did, even if he does a good job, he gets out, he's fine. No. I won't accept that. I'll take what he gives me as long as it's free, which is a better country. And then the things he did, he's got to face. When you got somebody on a job that's a criminal, a real bad criminal, and he's a good on the job, don't you let him finish up the job he's doing and then after that lock him up? Don't you? If it was a real bad criminal and he got a job that's crucial, yeah, you let him finish the job and then you lock his ass up. This is a crucial job. He's got to run a country. And then he's got to face the crimes he committed. And don't charge him for the bogus crimes he didn't commit. Charge him for what he did. And if you ask me, I think J.D. Vance or something like it would do just as good a job as Donald Trump. We don't need Donald Trump. We could take him for this crime I'm mentioning and put J.D. Vance in it. We'd do just as good. He's got to be held accountable for this. There were children trafficked in Nassau County Medical Center, and he helped it along. He's got to be held accountable. He's got to be held accountable. There were children molested and trafficked in Nassau County Medical Center, and he helped cover it up. He's got to be held accountable. The same way he's saying he helped children on the border. What about the children in Nassau County Medical Center? Why didn't he help them? No, he covered up the crimes they were committing. And if the videos of what happened in those hospitals got out there, he'd be prosecuted. He'd be prosecuted. He'd be removed from office, locked up. J.D. Vance would take over, and he'd be prosecuted. But they don't want to release these videos because the HIPAA law is like a loophole in the law that prevents the videos getting out, and they're doing this so that criminals can get away with it. Barack Obama get away with his crimes, Hillary Clinton get away with her crimes. She did things too, and Donald Trump will get away. Oh yeah, my brother. Okay, he got knighted as Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He was known all over the place as Conan Doyle, using my ID. The HIPAA law released this footage of what he did. I'd be knighted and he'd be locked up. But the HIPAA law covers his crime. The patients that go into the everyday ATM machine, stealing money from my bank and smuggling cigarettes, they'd be locked up. The doctors who are still, believe it or not, they're still doing lobotomies and they're still doing shock treatments, which are against the law. They'd be locked up. The two doctors I mentioned, Kokar and Hashmir, that gave my daughter shock treatments to try to forget me, they'd be locked up. Donald Trump, for throwing a monkey wrench and everything, he'd be locked up. Barack Obama, for trafficking children, getting involved with child trafficking in Nassau County Medical Center, which we got videos of it, he'd be locked up. And it'd be known that him and his boyfriend made a mockery out of our country by him posing as a first lady. And they might be locked up for that, because that's deceitful. Now, there's a lot more that happened. I just mentioned some things, the main things, but there's a lot more crimes that I didn't mention that were done in these hospitals that they cover up with the HIPAA law. And they not only cover up the things in the psych center, which is the main thing they do, they cover things up in the healthcare system, period. Which means in hospitals there's a HIPAA law too, there's medical laws, yeah. Because a doctor does something wrong and makes a crucial mistake, and somebody dies in the operating room, they're able, and they have cameras on it, they're able to hide that footage so that those doctors doing an operation or whatever they're doing don't go away. Because it's not just, the HIPAA law doesn't just cover the mental health system, it covers the healthcare system completely. So it means there are things in medical wards that happened that don't get out there. My father was murdered, and I found this out years later. I found it in the psych ward, but it was hidden. And the footage of it was hidden. He was murdered in St. Francis Hospital. They said he had cancer. They switched the x-rays. The government wanted him dead. They switched the x-rays because he was connected. They switched the x-rays. I said, I'll lower my voice. All right. They switched the x-rays. They switched the x-rays. I said, that's not my father's x-ray. Oh, wait a minute. There's been a mistake. It was obvious my father's x-ray. It was an x-ray that anybody could have read. They switched it and put another guy, a sick man's x-ray there. And if that's your father's x-ray. Because I said, where's the tumor? And there was no tumor. And they switched it with a sick man's x-ray. And then he was in St. Francis, that was in North Shore Hospital. And then in St. Francis, he was on a sick bed. Found out what was going on. He finally found out what was going on. And I saw the videos because I was in South Nassau, and they allowed me to see it because they wanted to drive me up a wall. My mother's laughing. And she's saying, oh, Penny, I want water. I need water. And she's laughing at him. And then they come up, and the people come in, and they go, well, this is what we're going to do. Now, your son, okay, who is in the story how Frank Gotti Jr. became Richard Stephen Doyle, which that was a true story. I said it on Lukey's channel. It was a true story. And how they took me, and they even admitted that they're working on stuff like this being done, but they actually did it. And they took my body apart, and then they cloned me into a different person. And they can do this. They've been cloning people for years, and they can also do this. And they've been doing it for years. So then I got run over by a car. I got run over by a car in Howell Beach, and the Gottis, they figured the only way to save his life is to do this with him. And then to cover up for the criminal, all that stuff, we have to have him become a different person. So my guy who was my father, Donald Gregory Doyle, said, forget your life, kid. Forget your life. And I was like, according to Mrs. Gotti, and it was all over the internet, but they covered everything up. And Mrs. Gotti said, yeah, you were deaf in the hospital. You were deaf in the hospital, and you were bandaged and everything, and we had to change your identity. And if you're trouble hearing, you have a loud voice. I said, yeah. They all say I have a loud voice. They say, well, that's because you were deaf in the hospital. You're partially deaf now. And then what they did was they chiseled my body apart, and then they cloned me into a different person, which they are doing these things. So then in the hospital, the people came in the hospital and they said, okay, your wife is going to prove this kid incompetent. He's going to be put on drugs, and he's going to be declared incompetent. Your wife is going to take all the money you left to him. All the money you left to him. And she's going to, all this stuff that's on the air that got out there about this Frank Gotti Jr. become Richard Stephen Doyle, and all this stuff, and all these videos, if it gets out there, it's going to be called a Hollywood movie. So they figured, okay, they know they do this stuff eventually is going to get out there, but then when it gets out there, they're going to say it's a Hollywood movie. That's how they're going to get away with it. So they say everything's a Hollywood movie, and if he tries to fight for his money back and his property, and even for himself, we're going to say the whole thing was a Hollywood movie. And your wife is going to take everything that belongs to, well, the kid who's supposed to be your son now. My father started kicking and screaming in the bed, because if you remember, there was a newspaper article that said Donald Gregory Doyle was a little sick and a little tired, and then the stock market fell 600 points years later. So he's kicking and screaming in the bed. And I saw the video of it, kicking and screaming. I'm a little sick, a little tired, a little sick. Okay, and saying it over and over again. And then they pulled the plug and they killed him. And years ago, my mother had said that he had asked him, wow, where's Richard? And he had started with a smile on his face. And Aunt Margaret cleaned up, and it was all bullshit. And it turned out that my Aunt Margaret gave my mother the Hal doll under the counter, or the woman that raised me, under the counter. And it was a psychotic drug. You don't give that stuff under the counter. And she took me to a guy. The doctor she took me to wasn't even a real doctor. He was an ex-mental patient named Gus Legerian. And Dr. Stanley Reddy, who was a South NASA, co-signed for him. And they sent me to Devereaux, and they prescribed the drugs to me. In the courtroom, they stated that I was declared a genius at a certain age, and that in a certain time I was put on drugs, I was declared incompetent, and they said Richard is on high dosages of Tylenol and Tufenol. Although his medication, mass motor tics, successful mass motor tics, which didn't even do that, it contributes to his mental incompetence. Okay, so that's how she did it. And now she feels that if I get all these videos from the hospitals and I get past the HIPAA law, this is her plan. And this is their plan. Once I release this footage, she's gonna say it was all a Hollywood movie. She's gonna say, yeah, it's all a Hollywood movie. And that's why even my father, who I found out was still alive under Jimmy Doyle, that was just the guy that the name they used in the French Connection. And he tried to say that Donald died and that Jimmy Doyle was a different person, all that stuff, and that they sued for the rights. And he even said, without telling me he was my father, I found out later on, that I was to say I was a screenplay writer. And they all wanted me to be a screenplay writer. and that I wrote a great movie, and they were going to give me everything back. But all this stuff that I found that happened, I was supposed to say was a movie. And they would give me everything back. And my father was okay with that, and everybody thought, well, he should take that deal. But I knew I wasn't the only victim. I knew there were victims of illegal abortions, shock treatments, lobotomies. My daughter was a victim. I couldn't do it. I said, I'm sorry. This is not a movie. This is all happening. And they kept on saying, why don't you say it's a movie? They tried to put a laugh track in it, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't. So then they sealed everything again. So now, when this stuff gets released again, they're probably going to try to say it was a movie again. And say that I wrote a great movie, but I'm still not going to go with that. But that's what they tried to do. Initially did it to give my mother the money and everything. Now they're trying to save their asses. Now they're willing to keep, then when it was in the hospital, they're willing to give me everything back that they took, as long as I said it was a movie. I wasn't willing. So ended up discharged again into this place. And we have to go into Pilgrim for 5 months. And then here. And I started doing a show again with Lukey. Now Lukey's mad at me. But because I wouldn't say it was a movie. I wouldn't say I was a screenplay writer, it was a movie. Initially they were trying to rob me. Now they're trying to save their asses. But the thing is, as this stuff gets out there, they won't be able to say that. That's why they're trying to get me to say it's a movie. So now that they hit everything to HIPAA law again, it's eventually going to get out. And they're going to try to say it's a movie. And they're going to try to get me to say it's a movie. And I'm saying, no, it's not a movie. And I'm going to take it to court. And by that time, they're going to have to give me all the money back because I got a good lawyer that's going to fight for this money that they've been stealing from the bank. Because it's not just my mother stealing the money. Now it's people going into the bank and stealing the money. I got videos of it. So I'm going to nail them for that. And if I turn around and I say, okay, I go to district attorney and I say, look, now the money is money. I said, look, I have all my money back. And I said, okay, expose this. Go to the right person, expose this. And I'll donate $50 million to your to the district attorney's office. You know how fast the district attorney should expose everything? Expose everything? That's all I have to do. Get all this money back. Give it money like that to the district attorney's office to donate. Get a tax write-off for the donation. I don't get caught for accused of bribery because it's a donation. And they expose everything. Give it to the right person to expose everything. See, in the Bible it says, nothing hid, which won't manifest, nothing kept secret, which is to be shed abroad, and nothing said in secret, which won't be shed abroad no times. They can't hide this. Even if they say it's a Hollywood movie, they can't hide it anymore. They never could. That's why the HIPAA law is doing what it's doing. Because they know they tried to do that movie thing, and it's not going to work, so they're not trying to hide it again. And when it gets out, they might try again, but they still know they're not going to be successful. I'm going after them for the money and for everything else. So the initial thing that I found out when I went to South Nassau was when I even met John Gotti Jr., and he told me, him and his mother told me the whole story. Oh, I'm from the real Frank Gotti Jr. And for years they were saying my body was never found. Now they're trying to say they found my body. Well, you know what they did? It's right here. My body's right here. They found my body. It's right here. So you weren't lying. People, the manipulation now in the press, you weren't lying when you said you found my body. You did find my body. It's right here. You found my body. It's right here. Okay, so this is information. And I explained in full. Lukey didn't believe this because I didn't even have to explain it well. I explained it pretty good. So if he doesn't believe it now, then I don't know. But I think I explained it pretty good. And when I was in the hospital, when I found out I was the real Frank Gotti Jr., they had told me that I could use the name Frank Gotti Jr. or Richard Stephen Doyle. I could use either identity at any time. They took that back from me. When they found, they even put someone else on the ward to say he was Frank Gotti Jr. So I couldn't do that. And after that, they said, no, we can't say that because the guy definitely wasn't Frank Gotti Jr. He had a tattoo on his forehead. He definitely was not Frank Gotti Jr. But they did that in the hospital. And then they figured, we can't get away with this, and we got to hide that too. And then they came out on the news and they said they found my body. That's right. You found my body, guys. It's right here. All right. This is Sir Doyle, a.k.a. Frank Gotti Jr. This is Hospitalgate. This is the story of a lifetime. I'm exposing things that no government official wanted out there, or a doctor or a lawyer. Well, some lawyers do. And I'm signing off. I hope this message has been informative to you.